find your passion, it ignites you as a person. You just feel awesome. All right, so I remember I must have been a white belt, 3rd stripe, and I was training, and I look over and I see her walk into the room. It was this, had like long blonde hair, and I talked to her. Her name was Laura, and I was like, at that moment, I'm like, me and her, we're gonna be besties. I don't know if she knows it or not, but we are gonna be besties, because when you like click with somebody, it's like, in my mind, even though it was her first day or like 2nd day, I was like, I'm gonna make her feel so welcome that she is not going to want to leave. Like, I'm always gonna be her partner. Like, if she wants to partner with me, like, I'm just gonna make her feel so welcome that she's never going to have to go through like that awkward, nobody wants to be your partner, you know, like, does everybody hate me type feeling. So I remember talking with her, and you know, she was asking me about my training, and at that time I was a 3rd stripe white belt, and I was training to get my 4th stripe, which involved a shark tank that was, I think, like 6 minutes long, where everybody basically like beats you up and you have to like just show, you know, what you're made of, show your fight. And she was like, how are you training for it? And I'm like, well, I basically just put on a weighted vest and do technical stand-ups until I feel like puking. And I guess she told me later that was like love at first sight for her too. So yeah, so it was during that conversation that she brought up, she was like, oh yeah, I came for my first day with a friend, and you know, my friend, the first time she looked around, she mentioned how there was like a bunch of hot guys here. And like, I had been training there for about a year, and this was my first reaction walking in. So here I am walking into the academy for the first time, and I was scared. So I'm walking in, you know, looking around, seeing a bunch of people for the first time. You know how that is. It's like you're the new kid at school. And at this point, I see this like really cute hound, and he runs up to me like he's like the welcoming committee and started kissing me. And that made me feel so good. It was really... You see, because it was like, in my mind, I was like really focused on like my secret goal of having my first MMA fight, that like it did not register to me that like any of the guys I trained with were attractive. Like, it just didn't. I was like, really? I train with attractive people? Like, I haven't even like noticed. So yeah, so it's not like I was used to working with men and being the only female. In fact, you know, I was an electrical engineer for 10 years, and it was really funny because I remember dressing like a man, you know, like no makeup, hair back, like trying to be kind of like as mannish as possible in order to like fit in. And I remember actually reading, they were like, okay, you know, when you go into the clean room, because it was I was an electrical engineer and we had a fab, and it said specifically, even in this clean room environment where it's very low particle count, you cannot wear a skirt or a dress even under the bunny suit, which to me didn't make any sense, because people were wearing shorts under, you know, the bunny suit. Like, what was like wearing a skirt as a female, like you're gonna just have extra particles coming out of there? Like, how does that not make sense? All right. So I remember like having, you know, like I remember one day driving to work and wearing a skirt for the first time, and it being like so liberating. I mean, this was, I don't know, like 5 or 6 years ago. I was an engineer for 10 years, so that was probably like 5 years in. And I remember one of the guy engineers was like, Crystal, you know, this must be tough for the females to see you like amping your, you know, stylistic game. They must be getting jealous. And, you know, there's probably like 2 or 3 other female engineers, but that wasn't the case. They actually would come up to me in the bathroom and be like, thank God you're wearing a dress. I've been wanting to wear a dress for years now. Like, so it was kind of ironic how, I don't know, it was kind of liberating. But anyway, so I remember, you know, so I had always been I've been working with guys for a while. And I remember one day, I don't know if I was like a 4th stripe white belt at the time, probably around there, and we were all in the changing area. It was me and like 4 or 5 other guys, like normal day. and they were talking about going to a competition, and I was like, oh yeah, like I'm, you know, going to that competition too. And they were talking about carpooling, and I was like, yeah, do you guys have extra space, or I'm driving too? And it was like crickets. All right, like I was like, well, I thought I was cool, but I guess not. Like, I guess I'll be driving alone. And in retrospect, it's funny. It's like when you're a white belt, I think in retrospect, right, it's either fight, flight, freeze, or friend. And I think I was giving off a little bit of like white belt energy of like, please be my friend, like acting just like super friendly, just because I don't know if it's just like a personality thing, or maybe you're just like trying to friend the people that are beating you up so they don't beat you up. I don't know what type, if it was just like a characteristic thing, but you know, it's nice to have friends, and I thought I was being friendly, but I don't know, I guess I was being like too forward and friendly. So I get my blue belt, and I get a job in Boston. And so I was training in Maine at that time, and I remember going out to train in Vegas and going to 10th Planet. And then after coming back, I remember my coach was joking around about like, so did you fuck Eddie Bravo? And I was like, I looked at him like, a 10th Planet black belt? Like, come on.
Go for submission. No? He must be a 10th Planet black belt.
So I had to move to Boston, and then like, what does that mean? Like new gym relationships, okay? So my first plan was like, all right, like I'm going to plan where I first live, which was like an Airbnb closest to the best, most legit gym that I could possibly find. And after doing some Googling, I come up with the name Roberto Maia, which basically has trained all the black belts in the Boston area. So I'm like, if anybody's legit, it's this guy. So I looked to see, you know, some Boston BJJ schools, and I find there's one in Woburn and there's one in Newton, Mass. And so I look up the one in Woburn first, and I hear this voice saying like, you will marry somebody from that gym. And I remember just being like, nope, I will not. We are going to Newton. So I moved to Newton and started training under Roberto Maia. And then it was always my goal to do an MMA fight, and there was no striking at that gym. There was no like Muay Thai. And he's like, hey, you know, why don't you go over to the Woburn school? You know, they have striking there. So I was like, I guess, you know, we're going to Woburn. So I start training at Woburn, and in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, like I'm looking around, there's no other females there. And I remember back to, you know, trying to be overly friendly with the guys, being like, hey, are we friends? Like, hey, my buddy. And I remember like the response that I got from that. So I was like, all right, like I'm here to train, you know, I'm just going to take on the attitude that like, I don't really want any friends. I don't need any friends. I'm here to train. I'm just going to go in there, train, and get out. Like, you don't have to like me. Like, I'm not even going to talk to anybody. Like, that was my attitude, you know, and it works. Like, it's, it's very effective just to like go in there, get your training done, and get out. That's kind of like the philosophy that I took, just because I wanted the training to be like my sanctuary. I didn't want to like complicate things or feel any type of a way about any type of like relationship there, friend or otherwise. Like I'm just like in and out, just gonna get my training. So while I was there, a fellow, like I was a blue belt and he was a blue belt, and he asked me to go out for a drink. And I was like, yeah, sure, you know, we could go for a drink as friends. And yeah, fast forward, what, like a year and a half later, like we are still boyfriend and girlfriend and train together. So what is the moral of the story in terms of dating and relationships in jiu-jitsu? All right. My advice, you know, if I were to do it all again, I definitely really like the approach of going in there and just kind of like going in there for the training and leaving, and it just being about the training, because especially all right? If you are a white belt, there's just so much going on that like, it would just make things way too complicated to start dating somebody like as a white belt. That would just be way too much. Like my advice would be like, you know, give it a couple years until you get comfortable in that environment to even think about doing that. And also like you also have to be prepared too of like what might happen. Like I think about, okay, like if I'm dating somebody and, you know, something happens and we have to split up, like the gym is going to not be a sanctuary after that. Like you're gonna have to figure out like, okay, are you going to leave and go to a new gym? Is he going to leave and go to a new gym? Are you just gonna like split classes? Are you going to be able to like be cool with being at the same gym, in the same class, like rolling with each other? You know, are you gonna get pissed off? Is it gonna be a domestic? No, just kidding, I'm kidding. But like, but you know, like those are just some things that you have to think about. Like I'm not going to tell you no, don't do it, because you know shit happens, but I would definitely just keep that in mind. Like know what you're getting into, and like, you know, once you make your bed, you have to lie in it. So yeah, but anyway, so thank you so much for watching. I know if you're a female watching this, yeah, like, you know, it's always nice if there's other females in your gym, because at least you can like kind of like befriend and be friendly with like other females, and like, you know, they won't think that you're like trying to date them or whatever, I don't know, or act weird about it. I know that like in my experience when I was, you know, treating the men as I would like a female buddy, like it wasn't received as well, I guess. They were just like, who is this chick? Like, why is she being so nice? Like, get out of here. Yeah. So yeah, that's about it. But if you are a white belt and you know this is something new for you, like just focus. My advice would be to focus on your training and focus on like why you're there, which is learning jiu-jitsu. And I find that's pretty much a solid, safe bet. And yeah, so thank you so much for the comments that you have been leaving me. I really enjoy reading them, and if at any point in time, you know, you have a question, you can definitely ask me, because enjoy making videos for you to let you know, you know, like what goes on, and some questions that are, you know, like if you're a female training with a bunch of dudes, like, does dating happen? Like, despite my best efforts of it not, yes, it is happening right now. All right, so until next time.